Live. Facebook. All right. All right. Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for jumping on. Going to ask if you don't mind um, sharing this with some others. We had a pretty good crowd today for midday. And so if you know anybody that you think may benefit from this, multiple platforms, you can remind them. I think we are live also on, well, we're live on all our platforms. And so we see folk are starting to come join now. All right. Uh, so we're on Zoom, we're on Facebook, on two pages on Facebook, we're on YouTube and on Periscope, which will drop onto Twitter. I do want to share this. I shared this earlier, and I need to make sure that I find a way to do this more often to just encourage people to download um, our church page on their phone. So you can drop it as an app, download as an app. If you got an Android or you have an Apple phone, drop it on. Yeah. So if you got a tablet or whatever, just go ahead and download the 6 Mount Zion Baptist Church app, right? So what happens is once we're finished, these lessons go right to our app, and it helps that Pastor Taylor, thanks for joining us, man. It helps that we are able to keep up with what we're doing, all right? Because this is the fifth week. This is the fifth week of our study, the fifth week of our study. And if you just came on, make sure that you mute. If you just came on, make sure that you mute yourself. All right. I'm sorry. Hold on for 1 second, guys. All right. So ultimately, hey, Ms. Rose, wave at me if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Thank you. So go back, and this is our fifth week of doing this What's Your Love Language study. And we started on the first week, just kind of dealing with the foundational stuff as it relates to your love language. All right. So in this camera, this web camera, for those of you looking on Facebook, it look like I'm all in your face. The webcam is right here on top of my laptop. So I want to make sure that you guys are, no, put it back. I think we good. Yeah, I just pushed it back. All right, I think we better right there. All right. So the first week, we did a foundational piece about what love looks like in relationship to our journey with God. And so what God says to us about love, what we say to each other about love. So we talked about eros, storge, philia. We talked about agape love. And then we transitioned into Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. And this is where we are. If we understand the context of love and how important it is to us on the journey, Chapman says that all of us have a love language. All right. And so Chapman has identified 5 love languages. We are on the 4th. So we've gone through words of affirmation at this point. All right. And so we spent some time in the context of understanding those of us who have the words of affirmation, those of us who have the words of affirmation love language. If you get the book or you go back and listen to some of the lessons, there were like 6 ways, 6 affirming sections of words of affirmation. So whether it's praise or appreciation or complimenting, etc. All right. So there are some that speaking affirming words to them and hearing it is their love language. All right. So why do we do this? So you ask yourself the question, what's my love language? So that I can help those identify and understand how I need to be loved, how I want to be loved. All right. Because love has its many dialects. And so you may be a gift giver or that's your love language, receiving gifts. And so you want to love the way you like being loved. Well, if my love language is quality time, you giving me gifts is not going to do anything for me. All right. That's why it's important that we kind of understand this context along our journey. So we've already done words of affirmation. If you're on the app, you can go back. We talked about quality time. And as it relates to time, the word quality is the most important piece. So that's kind of what we have been dealing with, not just spending time. I shared with the group today, as the governor in the Commonwealth of Virginia continues to relax the restrictions. And I shared this with my members earlier. I get the data that comes from the Virginia Department of Health, and there is data that is supporting the relaxing of the restrictions. All right. One of the primary things that we are looking at in Virginia is the rates of positivity with the tests that we are taking. Test taking is increasing. We need to continue to do a better job making sure that as many people as possible get access to a test. The goal from the state, from the Commonwealth, was to do about 10,000 tests a day, which the Commonwealth is getting closer to that goal. They have surpassed 10,000 tests a day. So when you are hearing that we've got 700, 800 new cases, understand that still most of the folk that are taking the test because they think they may have COVID or may have symptoms. Still not having a lot of just general people taking the test. All right. But the test numbers are staying the same while the test taking is increasing. Why are you sharing that? All right. The positivity rate in the city of Richmond was about 27% about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The city's positivity rate now is down to 15. I think Chesterfield is 14, Henrico is 12. The Commonwealth in general is 11. That's the reason why you see the restrictions starting to be eased. So on Friday, you'll be able to go dine in restaurants again at 50% capacity. Go to the gym, 30% capacity. Be with groups, 50% with groups of 50 people, which means for some of you, you've not been able to really hang out with your family if y'all have family dinners because it's usually more than 10 people. All right. So for those of you that quality time is your love language, you probably have been struggling over the last couple of months, because quality time is not just about the people that you shelter with. Now, if you've not been sheltering with anybody and it's just you, then clearly you probably have been missing quality time with family, friends, etc. So I'm just telling you, even as the restrictions ease, you still need to be washing your hands 20 seconds, front and back. You still need to be wearing your mask. You still need to be socially distancing, physically distancing yourself, in particular with people that you don't know where they have been. All right. But quality time is something that you are able to probably do more. Receiving gifts, the gifts are symbols of love. It's not about how much they cost. It's not about, people getting bling off of you, etc. The receiving gifts, the gifts themselves are symbols. The process itself is a symbol. And then here we are today with acts of service. This is day 2. Listen, what we've been doing is on Tuesdays, we lay the foundation of what acts of service looks like. And then we move to, on Wednesday, some further discussion of acts of service, but also we try to give you some practical things. So at the end of this piece, and I'm doing it for you for free. All right. So you don't have to give me anything. I'm trying to hook you up so you can hook up the people that you are in relationship with who have acts of service. Again, why are you doing this? I'm doing this because I want the people that you are in relationship with to benefit from the fact that you care so much about them, that you have invested time to learn all of the love languages. And then you want to make sure that you identify what their love language is and love them in that way. All right. That's what this is all about. All right. That's what this is all about. Gary Chapman, whose book we have used during this particular time, shares this. By acts of service, I mean doing things that your loved one would like you to do. Y'all hear me? You seek to please them by serving them, to express your love by doing things for them. Now, here's the great thing about acts of service. The context of it will help you love others in a way that is pleasing unto them. But if you are a Christian, service is a core principle as it relates to who you are and the journey that you are a part of. The acts of service, I mean doing things you know your loved one would like you to do. You seek to please them by serving them, to express your love by doing things for them. Again, this comes from Gary Chapman. If your loved one's primary language is acts of service, then actions speak louder than words. Now, I'm going to try to encourage you, if you can jump on tomorrow at noon. One of the things that we've been wrestling with, Reverend Butler and I, and we may even talk about that tomorrow. But the context of actions speak louder than words. You know, one of the things that I'm struggling with now is that everybody has words. And that's good, because we all need to express ourselves. We all need to talk through our feelings. But everybody is an analyst or a Monday morning quarterback about what this person should be doing. What, at the end of the day, once the sting of this is all over, then what are your actions? All right. So if your loved one's primary love language is acts of service, then remember this: actions speak louder than words. All right. And that's the same thing as it relates to receiving gifts. Actions speak louder than words. Now, I don't want to stay too long on this, because I spent a lot of time yesterday talking about children and teenagers and the dynamics that go along with that. We serve our children. This is what Gary Chapman shares with us. We serve our children, but as they mature, we must teach them how to serve themselves and then how to serve others. All right. Now, Gary Chapman says this, and I want to read this because I think it speaks to the specifics of what his intent is. This is not always a convenient or quick process. It takes more time to teach a child to prepare a meal than to prepare the meal itself. So if your only objective is to get the meal prepared, then 10 out of 10 times, you're probably going to prepare the meal yourself. But if your objective, listen, is to love your kid and to develop long-term growth, looking out for their best interests. If you heard me yesterday, we talked a lot about looking out for your kids' best interests. Serve them, but doing things for their best interests. All right. You're going to want to teach them how to cook, because that will not only benefit them, but in the long run, it's going to benefit others. All right. So when we're talking about service, we're talking about selfless, now selfish. Sacrificial service pleases God. All right, that's I said that is an important piece. Your sacrificial service pleases God. Amen goes right there. We are selfless, not selfish. All right. So we live in a culture now where the predominant attitude in society is what? What's in it for me? You know, if I'm going to do something, then I want to know what am I going to get out of it. But that's exactly opposite, all right, to the love language, acts of service. And listen, it's contrary to the heart of who we are as it relates to the context of Christian, social, and missionary service. As it relates to our journey, we are hands and feet people. We are hands and feet people. We serve a God that pushes us, particularly in the New Testament, to be serving, loving, and giving. All right. If we're looking at the example, then we look at Jesus as the example. All right. Jesus gives us the example of what we are. When we look at the text that we shared on yesterday, I want to share it again, because this ought to be one of the reminders that keep us within the context of what we are trying to do. All right. So the New International Version of Mark 10th chapter, verse 45 says this: for even the Son of Man did not come to be what? Served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. All right. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but what? To serve. All right. Now, a lot of times, even within the church, we've gotten kind of, you know, pastors, ministry leaders, these big potentates in these large churches. There's a ministry of service to the pastor, and I get it, but keep in context that the Son of Man did not come to be served. As I've been pastoring this church now for 15 years, and I tell people sometimes the things that we do, people seem to be sometimes amazed at the fact that I'm actually a part of the serving. On Fridays, when I'm here, which is majority of the time, as much as I can be, I'm serving, because that is what God requires of us. All right, not to be served, but to serve. All right. Now, another text that is appropriate as it relates to our growth here, and this is, if you heard the sermon on Sunday, then you heard this. If you did not, this is a great time to tell you to go back to our Facebook page, go to our YouTube page, and listen to Sunday's sermon. All right. Then Jesus made a circuit of all the towns and villages. He taught in the meeting places, reported kingdom news, and healed their diseased bodies, healed their bruised and hurt lives. That's what Jesus did. Serve. When he looked out over the crowds, though, his heart broke. So confused and aimless they were, like sheep with no shepherd. What a huge harvest, he said to his disciples. How few workers. On your knees and pray for harvest hands. And that's what I try to encourage us to do on Sunday. That ultimately, at the end of the day, a great part of who we are as it relates to this journey is wrapped up in service. We are servants. Jesus says, what a huge harvest. But then he makes a declarative statement. How few workers. Pray for harvest hands to come our way. All right. So I want you to, even if you are not in relationship with anybody that's an acts of service person, this is what I want you to do. Who acts of service is their love language. All right. Acts of service is their love language. And make sure that you understand this. They could love serving people. All right. Doing acts of service. That's how they express it to other people. But this is in the context that we're talking. Acts of service being a love language is people who have an acts of service love language want you to do things. All right. But I'm telling you here, Jesus is saying, I need you to join me in service as well. All right, real quickly, make it your goal that your children will learn to be comfortable in serving others. Make it your goal that the people who are in a relationship with you will see you serving others, which may lead them to serve others as well. Our children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, mentees, they learn by watching us. So most of the things that we do, folk learn it by watching us, and service is one of those things. I love it when I see folk, they come to the ministry and they bring their kids, and their kids then pick up that service mentality. All right. And one of the things here that we do at our church within the context of what we try to do is that we have opportunities to serve. You can sing, you can usher, great. You can be on the missionary ministry, but we also try to serve. All right. We try to be a church that has a servant heart. Why? Because when we look at the context of Matthew 25, 35 through 40, which is for us here at 6 Mount Zion, this is the core biblical, the core values that come from our ministry come from this text here. Like, we want to live beyond ourselves, and we want to do that by serving those in need. When you look at Matthew 25, 35 through 40, this is all about responding to to human need. And at the end of the day, if Jesus is talking to you in this context, which side would you be on? When I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was hungry, you fed me, or when I was hungry, you fed me not. When I was naked, you clothed me, or you clothed me not. When I was in jail, you visited me. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. This is all about serving. All right. So you may not be in relation with somebody who has this love language, but if you are a Christian, you need to be acting as such. Acts of service seem to have the most potential, though, for abuse, or at least the perception of abuse. All right. So we're not encouraging anyone here to be a doormat. All right. Jesus wasn't a doormat, and neither should you be. Do not manipulate others because acts of service is your love language. Yeah, I'm not speaking right now. I just want that to settle in. All right, what's a doormat? Something you wipe your feet on, something you step on, something you kick around. You do whatever you like with it. Has no will of his own. Somebody who is in relationship with you can be your doormat, but not your lover. All right. There are many people who have used the act of service as their love language to manipulate folk to do what they want to do what they want to be done. All right. Not out of love, but just out of getting people to do stuff. So you're practicing manipulation if your acts of service are always tied to somebody doing something that you desire. All right. Manipulation has a way. All right. Hear me. It has a way of having nothing to do with love and everything to do with control. Manipulating people by making them feel guilty is not the language of love. All right. And you're going to do this for me, or you're going to feel sorry. I'm going to punish you. All right. If you really love me, then you do this. All right. We're not using acts of service as a tool of manipulation. Manipulation is never an expression of love. Why are you saying that? Because love cannot be earned. And we even talked about as it related to receiving gifts last week, trying to understand the context of it. All right. So freely given is what we were talking about when it came to receiving gifts. A lot of us use the tools of bartering for service or paying somebody back for something. Those are not gifts that are freely given. They are paybacks. And I'm trying to tell you here that manipulation is never an expression of love. Love cannot be earned. It is a gift, what? Freely given. I've shared that to you, share that with you. All right. And so people want to be loved unconditionally. All right. They want to be loved unconditionally. They don't want to be coerced, and they don't want to be manipulated. They don't want you scaring them into anything. All right. They don't want you forcing your to-do list on them, only to say, if you love me, you do this. Love says, I love you too much to let you treat me this way. All right. And this type of love is not good for me and you. All right. Let me continue to move on. And this is something that I kind of shared briefly yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with it. But the right thing done with the wrong attitude can actually cause more harm than good. Amen. The right thing done. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but somebody doing something that is quote unquote the right thing, but doing it with a stinky attitude can actually cause more harm than good. Anybody agreeing with me there? I would much rather you not do it if your attitude is tore up when you do it. And you got to remind me or tell me Don't do it then. Don't do it. All right. So acts of service require thought. This is one of the things that we talked about with receiving gifts too. Is not about the about the what as much as it is about the why. All right. Acts of service require thought, planning, time, effort, energy. Acts of service. So if you're going to do something for somebody, most of the time you got to what? Think about it. You got to plan it. You got to set aside some time. You got to put forth some effort and some energy. You're in a relationship with somebody and you want to do something for them. You want to wash a car. You want to clean the house. You can't just do that without thought. It's going to require some planning. You need some tools. You got to set aside some time. And it's definitely going to require some effort and some energy. All right. Now, this goes with the manipulation piece. If your loved one's primary love language is acts of service, this does not mean that you must jump at every request. But I do want you to hear me today. It does mean that you should be extremely sensitive to the request and recognize that your response will either help fill somebody's love tank or puncture their love tank. All right. Again, each request calls for a thoughtful and a loving response. You may not be able to do everything, but understand your response can either help fill or help puncture. All right. Now, don't try to change someone else. Someone else's needs to fit your solution. I don't have time to dig into this. It's a great story that Gary Chapman tells, and we're gonna try to post it on our app later for you to read through it. But I want to keep on moving because if I start on this story, then I'll get stuck. Acts of service should be done, hear me, with eagerness and excitement. With eagerness and an excitement to do something meaningful. It should be done with good humor. Even the ones that take you way out of your comfort zone. Even if you do something for somebody that you know is not you, they know it's not you, but you do it anyway. Find some humor in it. Because again, acts of service shows the person that you're in relationship with that you understand their love language and that you're putting thought, effort, energy, time, and planning into letting them know that you love them. Also, acts of service should be done with some humility. I already said, don't call attention. Hear me. I'm trying to help somebody. This is going to go a long way. If you are in a relationship with somebody and acts of service their love language is acts of service, then it should be done with humility. Let me add this caveat. It should be done with humility. Love should be done with humility in general. So I don't care what the love language is, words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, and to this point, acts of service. Do it with humility. Don't call attention to yourself while you are performing whatever it is. Don't make a big deal about it afterwards. You do it, and then they got to thank you. They got to go buy you a gift for loving on them. Just do it. And some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You in relationship with folk that you know you're doing stuff, and ultimately at the end of the day, you got to throw them a parade because they did something for you. Don't make a big deal about it. Refuse to play the hero card or the martyr card. You went in and cleaned out the bathroom. Good for you. You got down on your knees and cleaned the toilet out. Good for you. Don't come out of the bathroom talking about you're nauseous and you don't feel good. You were ironing clothes and you burned yourself. All right? Don't make yourself the martyr. Remember who you're doing this stuff for and why. All right. And here's the last thing before I move into some tips real quick and we'll wrap this thing up. If you perform the acts of service that your loved one said means the most to them, and you consistently get criticism, and I've shared this before with other love languages, or no reaction at all from them, it's a pretty safe bet that acts of service may not be their love language after all. All right. All right. So get out your little notebook, take your notes app on your phone, and I'm going to help you out. All right. Thank me later. You send me a card or something if you want to. Here are some acts of service tips. You're in a relationship with somebody, and acts of service is their love language. I'm telling you, these are some things that you can do. Occasionally wake up. This is somebody, if you live with somebody, all right, occasionally wake up a half hour earlier to make a surprise breakfast for your loved one. All right, if you're in the same house, or you can make a breakfast and take it to the person. All right, but wake up early and prepare something. All right. When running late to an appointment or a meeting, and if you are you're parenting together, you're married or whatever be the case, you're parenting together. When running late to an appointment or meeting, help your child. Oh no, that's not this. This is if your kid is running behind. Help your child quickly finish what they're doing so you both can be ready faster, and instead of just telling them to hurry up, hollering at them, screaming at them, Johnny, get your butt down here. No, and then if you know they got stuff they got to do in the kitchen, they got to eat, that's an act of service. All right, supporting. Help them trying to figure out some stuff. Act of service tips. During the time when your loved one is sick, go the extra step by setting up their favorite movie, reading them stories, buying them a book in one of their favorite series. If you know someone is not feeling well, do something kind. If you know acts of service is their love language. Start a birthday dinner tradition where you make your child, loved one, any meal they want on their birthday. Now, earlier I was saying you can set a cap, take them out, but I don't want anybody taking advantage of you. All right. So the birthday tradition is you make a meal. All right. And do something special for somebody in that way. And make a list of several of your loved ones' favorite things they do with you and continue to do them. Acknowledge your teenagers' uniqueness by shopping together for new paint colors for their room and helping them paint it. I got a kick out of this earlier when I was talking about it, because I said find a child or a teenager and go shopping for new paint colors. But you can't do that if that person doesn't live with you. All right. Grandmama, granddaddy, auntie, uncle, whoever you are, do not go taking a kid shopping for new paint colors for their room without talking to a parent first. All right. Without talking to a parent first. All right, real quickly. Make a favorite snack when your loved one is having a difficult day. That's kind of similar to doing the breakfast thing. Do a chore that usually is your child's or your spouse's responsibility when they're especially stressed out with homework, work, or have a test coming up. You don't know how much that may end up blessing them if they are acts of service person, if you jump in and do something to be a blessing to them when they're stressed. If your loved one calls you at work and is in a crisis, sacrifice more time than usual to listen to their situation. Take some time. You know they're struggling. Help them out. Speak to them. All right? Or better yet, listen to them. I know this is old school and we've kind of moved past note cards. But print out some note cards that say, today I'll show my love for you by. All right? And make it happen. I'm almost done. Ask your loved one to make a list of 10 things that, that he or she would like for you to do during the next month. Then ask them to prioritize it. Number 1, most important. Number 10, least important. And then guess what? Do them. that would bless their soul. If your love language is acts of service, but your requests come across as nags or put downs, try writing them in words that would be less offensive to them. All right. Now, I've shared this before in all of the Bible studies. Make sure that you are asking, asking, instead of demanding. All right. All right. Instead of demanding, you're asking instead of demanding. If you have more money than time, hire somebody to do the acts of service that neither of you want to do. So there's the yard work or deep cleaning of your home. Be a blessing. Again, if you're living with somebody, or if you're not, you can do it. I don't feel like cleaning up. You don't feel like cleaning up. Usually you're the person to clean. Let me bring somebody in here to do it. That's a blessing. I know you've been working overtime. You don't have time to keep up with the yard like you used to. Let me get somebody to do it. You don't have to live with somebody to do that. All right. If you have more time, more money than time, then that's something that you can do. If they ask you to do something, do it. Don't make them have to ask you again. I had a flashback, a quiver when I said that earlier. I wish everybody in my household would have heard that. All right. One time is enough. Make yourself accessible in times of extended grief. All right. If you're in a relationship with folk and you know that they're struggling, make yourself accessible. One of the things that I love about some of the people that I'm in a relationship with, if I'm ever going through something, they make themselves accessible. And it means a lot to me, especially when I know that their lives are already busy and hectic. All right. So make yourself accessible. And not just as it relates to the death of a human being, but even if somebody loses, a pet, because pets are family members as well. Don't always announce what you do for your loved one. Occasionally perform an act of service without saying anything and see how long it takes. It takes them to notice. You don't have to tell them about it. Just do it and do it again and do it again and see how long it takes for them to notice. All right. I'm heading to a conclusion. Make a list of skills and abilities your friends possess. Which ones can you call on to perform an act of service that you may be incapable of doing? All right. And here's the last two. Show your loved one good results instead of good intentions. What does that mean? Don't just be giving folk lip service. Don't talk about what you can do, what you was going to do, what you is going to do that you have not done. Show results instead of intention. All right. You're judged by your effectiveness. All right. That's the impact that you have. And then finally, every delay or failed attempt to complete an act of service sends a clear message to your loved one. And what's that clear message? That you aren't important to me. All right. So thank you guys. This is it. Those of you who are on Zoom and Uber conference, and you're members of the church, then I'm going to ask you to stay on real quickly. Those of you who are on Facebook and YouTube, then we're going to sign off now. Now, if you're a member of the church and you want to hear some of these announcements, you want to jump off Facebook, go ahead, call into the Uber conference line real quick. That's 203-9011, 203-9011. For the rest of you, I'm thankful to God for you being on with us today. And I appreciate it. Those of you who are on Facebook, on YouTube, I'm going to ask you to come back tomorrow at noon if you can. And we're going to have our final lesson on acts of service. All right. And we're going to discuss what God is saying to us within this particular context at this particular time. All right. We love you guys. Thank you for joining us. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube, we're going to sign off right now. Zoom and Uber conference. Hold on.